Hello everyone, I am making a video today on the Basilisk Ultimate from Razer. So I was looking, or I bought this used off of Amazon or renewed or whatever, and a while after playing with it I was noticing that the left click in particular was, I think what they call it, the technical word for it is post-travel. It was having some post-travel, so like basically you could just lift up on the left click and there was space between it and the actual switch at the bottom. So basically if you would shake the mouse around, just the finger pad here would flop around and it would actually make a pretty significant rattling sound. So it was wobbly, shaky, wiggly, whatever you want to call it. So I did some research to see if there was anybody out there who had fixed it, and I found a couple videos of people breaking them down, not necessarily for this issue, and I found a couple articles with people saying that it had that post-travel or that wobble to the left click, I think it was in both cases. So for a high quality mouse like a Razer, I mean this thing is, its MSRP is like somewhere around 120, 130 or something. So that's kind of a big deal if you're paying that much. But anyways, if you did pay that much, I would probably suggest letting the company know and trying to return it for a new one that doesn't have that problem. But if you're like me, I bought it used for like 40 bucks, and I'm a DIYer and I can't stand things that I don't understand and that I'm not able to fix. So I did some research and I watched the disassembly videos, and thankfully, so technically on the bottom here, if you remove this sticker with the barcode on it, and I can't remember which of the feet, the mouse feet, but if you remove the feet and these stickers with a barcode and possibly around this charging area, you'll see screws that you can unscrew, and then the whole bottom drops off from like this upper chassis. But thankfully you do not have to remove any of the screws or poke any holes to fix this wobble issue. So what I found to work, and I just did this so I don't really know if it's a very long-lasting solution, but the stuff you'll need: a cutting board, a X-Acto knife is nice to have. I have some plastic pry tools from like a phone repair kit. And then if you have like a guitar pick, this one's kind of nice. It's basically like a guitar pick, but it's quite a bit thicker, I think. So stiffer, gives you a little more leverage. And then some masking tape. So all you have to remove to actually fix this mouse click, wobbly mouse click, is this back portion right here. So what you're gonna do is, I found, and from the videos I watched, this is actually loose, and I didn't want to put it all the way back on because there's some, of course, dumb plastic clasps that if you take on and off, they're probably all going to break on you. But if you do this once, it's probably okay. Actually, a few did break on me, but there's, let's see, there's 5 different plastic clasps, which I'll show you in a second. But anyways, easiest way to get this off is to start from the bottom. You're just going to find this little seam here and then start pulling up on that, and then my experience was that you'll get a little wiggle room, and then there should be a gap along the side here, and then you can take one of those pry tools or whatever you have on hand and slide it up along this side and along this side. And then I'll just show you this so you can get an idea. So there's 5 clasps. There's 3 bigger ones, 2 big ones here at the bottom. So this is the bottom, or near the heel of the mouse. Those 2 holes right there and there. So there's 2 bigger clasps at the bottom, and then 1 bigger one at the very top. And then on either side, there is one here, which would technically be the right side of the mouse, and then another small one on the left side, which go into these holes respectively. Actually, don't quote me on that. That doesn't look right. these slots right here. One slot, and then that slot right above my fingernail, right there. So those actually both broke off on me, but they're quite a bit smaller and weaker than these three main ones. And I think these three main ones give you a secure enough fit, but I haven't put it back on yet. It should be just fine. But anyways, once you get that pried off, you can set that aside. And then you're going to be obviously looking at whichever switch you need to fix, but in my case it was this left click. So it's actually, this left click has a bar extending off the back of it, and it's hinged right here. You can see one lock point right above my fingernail there, and another on the other side right above my fingernail there. To pry it up, obviously you didn't want to apply too much pressure because these plastic things will break in a second. If you get the plastic pry tool again, or even something a little smaller, I had like a pen cap here, and then you can just squish it under. I'm gonna show you what it looks like, and then I'll actually do it because I don't have enough hands. So you're just gonna wiggle it under there, try to get it all the way up to this pivot point here, the fulcrum. That way you're not prying up, putting a lot of leverage or force on this plastic tongue. You don't want it to break, obviously. And then to note, there is also a little spring under that tongue. If you can see it right at the tip of that pen cap. There is a spring under this tongue. So just watch out for that. If you can, try to do this like in the center of a table. So if it does happen to spring out, you'll have a splash zone so that you can find it again. Anyways, let me see if I can set this up. Maybe? Okay. So, and then actually in this case, because you can technically get all the way under to that pivot point or the fulcrum, I actually thought if you have like a flat head or something that can get way in there without pulling up on the plastic tongue, if you can get a piece of metal just so it's not super bendy or anything, then you can get all the way under that pivot point. And if you want to put a finger on top of it so that you can kind of control the release, you can get your leverage. I actually can't remember what I did this with in the first time. I've got a little SIM card key here, but you're gonna stick that in as far as you can without putting a lot of pressure on that tongue, trying to get your leverage right under that pivot point. And then you can put that finger on top, like I said, to kind of control the release. That's not working super well. What did I use? I think, let's try a plastic pry tool. We're going to try to just get as close to that center as possible. So you couldn't hear it because my finger was on top of it, but I just pulled that side up, and then once the side closest, the pivot securement on the side closest to the side of the mouse is up, then you can get something bigger like a metal piece to make sure you're getting all the way under, up to the center of that fulcrum. It's up to the fulcrum, and then you can pry up the rest. Alright, so now both sides of this hinge just came undone. Spring is still there, so I would definitely recommend putting your finger on top so that doesn't pop up really fast and that spring come flying out. And then it is a really tight fit to get this mouse, the finger pad out of here. I wasn't actually able to do it, and I wasn't going to force it because plastic sucks, and I didn't want to break this part because this is a lot more important than some hinges or some clasps on the back. Whatever you want to call it, the cover, the back cover. It's a lot more important than the back cover clasps. But anyways, so both sides of that hinge have come undone now. You can definitely set aside that spring so you don't lose it. It's just sitting in there. It's not secured there anyway. And then what you're gonna do is just kind of wiggle it, pull up on the front to try to get this to slide out. I'll show you in a second, but you're gonna pull up on the front and just wiggle it, and pull forward towards the front of the mouse at the same time. All right, now I found that the X-Acto knife actually works pretty well for grabbing this spring, or if you obviously have some tiny little pliers. Alright, so now we're looking at the underside of this mouse here. So I don't know where exactly the defect is. I figured that the most obvious place where the defect would be this the foot on the pad, finger pad. So that's this right at the nail of my thumb. That's where the finger pad actually comes in contact with the optical switch in this case. And so that's where I figured there was probably wiggle room, and so this whole finger pad was wiggling up and down like that. If you would shake the mouse, or even if your fingers were sticky when you were playing or using the mouse, if your fingers were sticky enough, it would actually lift this up past being just past deactivating the switch. It would go up even further. Probably made that more complicated than it needed to be. But anyways, that's where I figure the issue probably is. So I just took some masking tape. I set it on my cutting board, and then just took the X-Acto knife, tried to cut some pretty even strips that are approximately the width of that little post. Trying to cover it most of it. And then you just want to make sure that you don't want the masking tape to go onto the back, because there is a little, I don't know if you can see this post here, hard to get at, right on the bottom part, or on the main housing of the mouse. Let me see here. Point to it here. This is not easy to do. So there's this post in the bottom housing that I am pretty sure prevents the finger pad from moving forward and backward to take out any play there. So you just want to make sure that there's no masking tape on the back, because it will make the fit too tight, and it will prevent the masking tape will stick. The friction is too much if it's pressing against that bottom post, and it'll make the mouse or the clicking action too sticky or too stiff. So anyways, once you've got the masking tape on, you can kind of see what I did there. Once you got the masking tape on, you're gonna wiggle this guy back, and you have to push, kind of force it back, so the front of that post makes it inside the hole. So you can see there's going to be a little resistance. You just got to push, make sure your hinge is going up and over the, you want to make sure that hinge, pin, if you want to call it that, is going up and over the hinge post. So you want to lift it up, and simultaneously, so you want to lift it up and simultaneously push back to try to get that post inside the hole there. So then it's going to drop down, and you're going to keep on pushing this guy. Lift that up if you can, so you can get the hinge pin all the way over. And then at this point, you just have to remember about that spring. So we got it slid all the way down. We don't want to press it down yet because we have that spring to put back in. But you can see the hinge pin is lined up with the hinge posts. At this point, we are going to take our spring. I have it set up on the X-Acto knife like this. And then you're just gonna slide it in and get it set upright. So you can see it fell into place. It's straight up and down. And you're gonna make sure again that the pin is lined up with the post. It's right in the center. And then you don't want to push this down one side at a time, otherwise it'll make the spring lean, which might end up with it pushing out somehow. So you want to make sure that you get your finger or something smaller if it's too big to put right on the center of that fulcrum. You want to press down evenly, straight down, and it'll pop right in. Then you can make sure that both sides of the pin are secured. Make sure that spring is still there. And now, this is after the fact, obviously. There's obviously still a little bit of wobble, but not enough for it to wobble around so much that it's shaking and making noise. And if you shake it, if you can hear a tiny bit, that's from the scroll wheel, because if you hold this, you hold the hinge, there's still that sound. But that way you can kind of do a test, see if it did fix the issue. And then once that's done, you got your back part. There's also a blurry plastic screen here. That's a diffuser so that the RGB lighting for the Razer logo spreads evenly throughout the logo. So just make sure that's still on there, and make sure it doesn't come off. It's just like a sticker. So anyways, and then with this, all the paint pins, or all the clasps, those two on the bottom and the one on the front, they oppose each other, so it can be kind of hard to get it off, because if you're leaning this part up to get those bottom hinges up, or the bottom clasps off, then it's going to push this one farther into the mouse, so it's going to make it harder for that one to come out. So it definitely takes some patience, and obviously I broke those other two hinges, but just keep playing with it. And these ones are big enough and strong enough, I hope, that they don't break for you. No promises. But then you just want this to go straight down. You don't want to do, you can probably do one side at a time, it doesn't matter, but if you just go straight down, it should be flawless. There's a click click. And there's like no play in that, so losing those two small hinges on the side, not a big deal. Basically just sounds like the scroll wheel is the only vibration or the wiggle now. So I hope that helps you guys out. Sorry for the long video, but all the YouTube videos and articles I read, even if they were having this exact same problem, didn't really give any idea as to how to fix it. So if you love your Basilisk Ultimate from Razer, you can do this to hopefully fix that wobble. Try it out. Let me know how it goes, if the video helped. Have a nice day, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.